The NBA offseason has fallen a little flat. Yesterday, we had the news of Russell Westbrook getting traded to Utah, where he was promptly bought out and then signed with the Denver Nuggets, which that's going to work.
We mentioned this yesterday. The Nuggets were the 28th best three-point shooting team in the NBA last year.
Yeah.
And they just added the worst volume three-point shooter in the history of the NBA.
Yeah, it's not good. And
they do need somebody else who can dribble, though, so that's value.
There is something about Russell Westbrook I will give him a ton of credit for.
He doesn't give up?
He doesn't give up, but he'll shoot his way out of a series, Portland. But he changed his mentality and his game in LA, and I didn't think he was capable of doing it. He
changed it enough.
Yeah, but I didn't think he was capable of that at all. I thought everything was just going to be an absolute disaster. And I think he's kind of come to the realization that his career is on the tail end, so he's buying into roles a little bit better. The one thing that he has not bought into, though, is the fact he cannot shoot a three-pointer.
No, he's a
or that the Westbrook nickname is gaining more traction the more angry he gets.
Yes. He's a career 30% three-point shooter.
Yeah.
30.
Yikes. But the Memphis Grizzlies, in the big news of the day of the NBA, have traded forward Zaire Williams to the Brooklyn Nets. And then...
Zaire, not a country anymore.
A second-round pick via the Mavericks in 2030 is the return, along with Mamadi Diakite.
There you go.
Yep.
I'm bad.
And then a draft rights to a Serbian guy who was drafted a decade ago.
Yeah.
Nothing. He was Zaire Williams was a top 10 pick.
Petteri Kopanen's draft rights were just traded, and he's an assistant coach at Summer League.
You're kidding me.
His draft rights are still active. They had to include something in a deal, and so his draft rights are traded.
And I think we're at this point of the NBA offseason where these are the kind of deals that are being made. And
this one was a little surprising in the sense of like, Zaire Williams? Okay. Mostly this is trade. And kind of to your point of like where we are in the transaction cycle, the Blazers aren't 100% done, but they're 100% done if teams aren't willing to include the necessary capital to get guys. So that means Jeremy, that means Tease, that means Time Lord. Those guys are they're stone cold chilling unless a team offered like. Perfect example, and I mentioned it the other day. If the Lakers decide that they're willing to give up both ones, then they can have Jeremy Grant.
Make deals.
That's as I understand it. That is enough to get that done. Rui Hachimura, Gabe Vincent, 2 ones, send it in. They're not gonna just give Jeremy away, and Jeremy's just chilling. They're not gonna move Robert Williams just for the hell of it because his value is at probably its lowest right now because he's recovering from an injury. So. Why not wait until the trade deadline if the best offer you're going to get is maybe a couple of like protected seconds?
And that to me is where I think Portland just holding on to guys is okay because we need to get this and kind of reshape this conversation again. Nobody has asked directly for a trade from the Portland Trailblazers. So you can move forward without that pressure of everybody knowing this guy wants out, he's going to be gone, and it's going to be pushed to the forefront of everybody's mind. No, whether it's Jeremy Grant, whether it's Anthony Simons, whether it's Robert Williams, those guys have DeAndre Ayton, which 4 guys that pretty much everybody kind of wants to be traded here in the fan base, which is a kind of a weird thing, seeing as you don't have any really good players anyways, but just get rid of those guys. They don't mind being here as of right now, and so you can operate this way if you're Portland, and that's why you're not seeing a sense of urgency from the Portland Trailblazers, and there shouldn't be at this juncture.
And on top of it, I mentioned this yesterday. There's this idea of the transactions are done, nothing can happen. There was a bunch of free agents last year signed in August. Remember Kelly Oubre signed in August out of nowhere with Philly? You're like, oh crap! Like if you look at who's available right now, Tyus Jones is still available. Gary Trent Jr. just signed on a vet minimum. Now they gave him the memorial special of if you're going to start, which Dame, Gary, Middleton, Giannis, Brooke, that is your starting lineup for the Milwaukee Bucks next year. You can write that in pen.
Middleton for now. Because he had that double ankle surgery.
2 ankle surgeries. One of them was scoped, the other one was repaired. But I knew I had heard a couple weeks ago that he had one work done. I did not know both. That was a little. My eyebrow went up on that. I went, okie doke.
It explains a lot of what we were seeing, though, with our own two eyes.
Couldn't move
at all. Like the one thing that you could always rely on with Chris Middleton is that he would give you plus defender on the other end of the floor, even when his scoring was there. Didn't see either one of those down the stretch for the Milwaukee Bucks. But right now, where do the Portland Trailblazers go? We'll wrap up hour number 1 that way. Danny and Dusty on the Fan.
Hello, sports